Here at home, anger continues to erupt on college campuses as students side with Palestinians and demand their institutions stop doing business with Israel, while others voice concern over rising incidents of anti-Semitism. It's a familiar scene and one that we've seen on college campuses dating back to Vietnam, and it begs the question of where is the line when it comes to balancing freedom of speech and safety in a place that is supposed to be the cornerstone of learning and debate. Sammy Salina talked to some students and leaders today about their take. Sammy?
Julie, when it comes to the rise of reports of anti-Semitic and Islamophobic incidents across the country, the University of Minnesota is no different. Here's a look at some of the conversations happening on campus this week.
Free, free Palestine!
On the first day of the pro-Palestinian rally at the University of Minnesota, 9 were arrested for trespassing. The university says it supports freedom of speech, but tents go against their policy.
And the police came and told us to leave, and then 9 of us chose to stay.
William Chancellor, with Young Democratic Socialists of America, was one of those arrested.
I think people in Gaza and Palestinians in general have been suffering tremendously.
He says the university's response doesn't support free speech.
Student safety requires freedom of speech.
But Minnesota Hillel, a Jewish organization, says these words
From the river to the sea
do not make them feel safe.
This chant means the destruction of Israel.
Sami Rahamim with the Jewish Community Relations Council says words, posters, and flags that are being used in these protests make students feel uneasy.
Glorifying the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, the PFLP, designated as a terrorist organization by the US, Canada, Japan, other countries.
Students cited many examples of phrases that have hurt them.
Earlier this week, I walked past the die-in in the Kaufman Student Union. As I stepped into the union, I had to walk past chalking that read, "Death to Zionism." I identify as a Zionist for many reasons. But above all, I do because I believe that the state of Israel has a right to exist as a homeland for the Jewish people. Seeing "Death to Zionism" as I'm walking to class feels as though the protesters on my campus want my Judaism to cease to exist.
The council says this language is connected to a rise in anti-Semitism. So far this year, there have been 122 complaints of bias filed at the U. 42 have been against Israel or anti-Semitic. 16 have been against Palestine or Islamophobic.
I don't know how you would consider it non-peaceful.
William Chancellor says the protest doesn't aim to hurt anyone.
I'm certain there's individuals that say things that are anti-Semitic, and we condemn that. We don't believe in hatred. This has nothing to do with being against Judaism or being against Jews. This is entirely against the state of Israel.
But students with Hillel say these rallying words hurt. And as protests continue today, the question of balances continues to be debated.
And the key to success has always been and will always be very clear rules and policies and consistent enforcement of those rules and policies.
Derek Anderson is the senior VP with the American Council on Education.
There are some non-negotiables. Freedom of speech is a non-negotiable. Freedom from, and that's not just freedom from harassment. It's also, students are entitled to an opportunity to feel safe.
Hillel says professors have pushed discussions of the war and canceled class so students can attend this week's protests. They want the university to do more. The U said in a statement they are firmly against anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and have supports in place for people who have been harmed. Julie.
All right. Thank you, Sammy.